No, it didn't. It's now starting to stream. Okay, there we go. I hate being a one-man band sometimes. We are going to today discuss what I consider to be a regrettable decision by Calgary Pride to exclude Calgary Police Service officers from participating in the Pride Parade, the upcoming Pride Parade in uniform. And I have two people here with us that will help with the conversation, along with my co-host Christine. We have Helen Arrell, who is the chapter. What is it? Chapter head, or what's the proper title? Oh, your volume is really low.
They call us branch leader.
I can't hear it hardly at all. Losing her. Barely. Can barely hear you.
There's a lot of staticky kind of noise too.
Yeah, we got a lot of noise coming off of your mic, Helen. I think she's gone.
There's no noise at my home. That's the thing.
I think they got to her.
I'm sorry?
Oh, there we go. You're getting a little better. Yeah, there was quite a bit of white noise going on there.
There was nothing happening at my end. I don't know what happened.
Oh, well, if it happens again, what we'll do is we'll restart the Skype convo.
Okay, sorry. Not sure what happened there.
Yeah. And we have what is your title at CFI? I keep
My
forgetting.
name is Helen Beach.
Helen Beach. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And I'm currently the branch leader for Center for Inquiry. But tonight or this afternoon, I am only speaking as myself, as Helen.
Okay. And we have with us our gay correspondent, Shane Plesiuk.
Hello.
And so recently, Calgary Pride decided to forego allowing any CPS from participating in uniform as a group. Of course, they will be there on the parade route, providing security, etc. But and I did, by the way, reach out to Calgary Pride. They've never responded to me, so take that as you will. And I guess we'll have to just go on whatever their statements were regarding this decision. And what is our feeling about this decision? I've already obviously let the cat out of the bag in terms of how I feel about it. But what is the general feeling here? I think I have a feeling we're going to be kind of. What did you call it? You called it a circle jerk, didn't you, Christine?
Probably something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's the discourse is so vicious around this topic, given the statement and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to participate in anything that's going to exclude people. That's my take on it. So, yeah.
Helen, CFI has made an official announcement that they will not participate in the Pride Parade. Could you tell us why?
Now, a disclaimer, CFI Canada has nothing to do with CFI Calgary's decision. None of the branches across Canada have anything to do with our decision. This is just our group, and we are all volunteers in this, are not in agreement to participate because there are too many outstanding issues that perhaps it could be we don't understand yet and we need to learn more, but we just don't feel comfortable. And we need some answers before we feel comfortable participating in the parade. And part of the problem is that in my speaking out, a lot of people have slandered CFI with a blanket statement, and that's untrue.
And you personally?
And well, yes, I'm getting a lot of very acrimonious language that I've never encountered before. And I'm not sure how to deal with it. I'm waiting and just trying to learn and trying to read as much as I can. But my gut instinct is that there's something else going on, and I'm not sure what it is. To be fair, to call CFI as not being compassionate to the rainbow community, and I'm going to say rainbow community, I may offend someone, but I can't repeat all the letters every time I say that, because it's getting too long. And I think can we agree on that? Is that all right?
LGBT is also perfectly acceptable, from my experience, to refer to the broader group.
I have said LGBT, and I've been accused of not adding in the Aboriginal community, the Two-Spirit.
Oh my.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will say LGBT, and I'll just leave it at that. I should maybe say LGBTQ. I may stumble over my words, but many of my personal contacts have, not many, a few of my own personal contacts have disagreements with me as well. But I also have, on the other side, LGBTQ that also will not participate in the parade because they're finding the parade is not representing them. And I tend to side with them. This conversation needs to go on. There's even CPS, Calgary Police Service, who are gay and want to march in their uniform because they want to show that they are proud supporters in uniform, trying to make changes, trying to show that the police service wants to be in uniform to protect your freedom, your rights. They were there in the very early stages. I mean, I'm old. I'm 60. And I remember the first Pride parades in Calgary. They were small and wee, and nobody paid any attention. Some of the people laughed when they were walking down the street, but the police were there. They allowed a safe environment for them to have freedom of speech, and that has continued on. I know there's been accusations that the CPS are still abusing their rights with LGBTQ community. I have some concerns because the police that I have spoken to say they have worked very, very hard in Calgary. And Calgary is one of the best police services in Canada. They have worked very, very hard to make that connection. I would like to give them a chance. I think a lot of these comments are coming from a global perspective and not just Calgary. And I'll stop there for now.
Well, Shane,
I would have.
Go ahead and comment on that. But maybe first, could you give us an idea what the reasons are that Calgary Pride did make this decision?
I would have to agree with Helen. It's probably it's a reaction to a global situation, an ideological stand. Because, as she said, Calgary Police has been allied with Calgary's gay community for decades, since the very beginning. And we've had a very good relationship with them. And these accusations of them being active oppressors of queer people and queer people of color, I don't know. I have no idea where that's coming from. I've never heard of this before.
I agree with you, Shane. That's the comment that I'm getting from many, many people. Even last year, there was a posting from a former CFI branch leader, and he said, I'm gay. I run a gay nightclub, and I've never seen any of this. Right. My big question that I've asked continually is, what has changed from last year and previous years to this year where it's become so vitriolic?
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with this outrage culture, I think.
Yeah.
And it's victimhood is what is now valued. It's not about empowerment anymore, right? Take a look at at race relations in the U.S. It used to be about empowerment. I mean, Martin Luther King was about empowerment. Today, it's about victimhood. Black Lives Matter is all about victimhood, and something's changed, and it's only been in the last 10 years, maybe, that we've come to this outrage culture. Maybe less than that. Yeah, maybe less than that.
Yeah.
I think the internet has a lot to do with it because of the anonymity of the internet and the ease of which you can express rage. I mean, you don't have to face somebody to express rage. But
Randy, can I make a comment here?
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
When I posted on the CFI Facebook page that we would not be participating in the Pride Parade, and the reason being that we had some issues, we weren't quite in agreement as our group was not in agreement. We had more members that were saying they were in disagreement with what was happening this year. So I thought it would be best just to pull out for this year until we learn more. Anyway, when I posted that, there were many people that actually slandered and raged at CFI Calgary and me, but nobody ever picked up the phone and called me to say, Helen, what the hell's going on in Calgary? What are you thinking here?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that personal phone call where you say, okay, this looks odd to me. Why are you not participating this year? CFI Calgary has participated in the Pride Parade since 2009.
Yeah.
Every year. It's been fun. It's been a celebration. I got called because someone was angry when I used the word celebration and turned it around to say it's not a celebration, it's a protest march.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, wrong.
Yeah, well, if you go to the Gay Pride Parade, the first paragraph in there says this is a celebration inclusive of many people. By the way, the word inclusive is not acceptable as well. I don't understand.
Yeah. On the word celebration, you were being accused of using it kind of flippantly or whatever, right? And I was thinking, well, has this person ever heard of a celebration of life, right? It's not. It's a word that can be taken very seriously, right?
Well, if you ask any gay person around my age, I'm 36, but within, let's say, 10-year difference on either side, you ask them what is Pride, and they'll say it's a celebration of how far we've come, with our rights and acceptance and the fact that, we're still here. You'll get that same answer from anybody. So this idea of it being a protest thing, I have no idea where that's come from.
Yeah, especially protesting police,
well, that's come back
in the
to
earlier days, undoubtedly, right?
Yeah. Well, especially in Toronto, and
still now in a lot of places, no question about it. But anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember the raids on the bathhouses in Toronto, and back then I was thinking, why are they doing this? Why are the police doing this? And just recently, Toronto Police has apologized for that, but that doesn't erase what they did, of course. But that's Toronto.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's not even part of Canada. But anyway.
Regardless, we've moved on, right?
Yeah, we've moved on. Why?
Yeah.
We're being bashed over the head with history. How long does that have to happen?
I agree with you, Randy. History keeps coming up and coming up.
Yeah.
And I would like to see an amalgamation between the Calgary Police Force and Gay Pride so that they can talk amicably, because the police in Calgary have worked very, very hard at trying to make that connection. And somehow it keeps getting railroaded for ages ago. Do you remember the bathhouses and this and this? And I know that those if there's something bad that's happening today with the police service, bring it
Yeah.
up. Take it to court.
Yeah,
Show
why?
that these guys are bad. It's not
Okay,
happening.
can we go back to what was the decision? What was the decision by Calgary Pride based on? This is what I'm trying to figure out. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that email that you sent me, Randy, they referenced quote in the wake of events in Charlottesville, Virginia,
Like-
as well as several extremely racist events in Alberta. Well, that has nothing to do with Calgary.
Yeah, I just
Exactly.
don't get it. I don't get it. I do not understand. It's something doesn't compute, and we're missing something. I don't know what it is. Frankly, I don't know if I care at this point, because if they're not going to bring it up, well, what can be done about it, right? If you have a grievance, you talk about it, you discuss. You don't go straight to the you're out. Now what happened was that this decision was made in conjunction with a group called Voices. As far as I can tell, there's very little information on them that I can find. Did you find anything, Shane?
No, I tried searching for it, but because Voices is a standard dictionary word, it rejects to everything else possible other than that, right? But I hadn't even heard of the group until you mentioned it to me last week.
Goodness me.
I have a note that just came in. It says Voices, Calgary's coalition of two-spirit and racialized LGBTQIA plus and their chosen allies.
I have no idea what those other letters
I
mean.
know. That's what I'm saying. What do I call everybody? It's getting to be longer and longer.
Yeah.
I am sorry, and I just find that funny.
I agree with you, Randy. It's not funny.
It's exasperating. It's exasperating.
What do we do? We cannot. And in some of the information that I have been sent, people that write me, and to me it looks like a male name that has written me, but within the male name, there is a subtitle saying this person wishes to be addressed as they, them.
That's nice. Too bad.
I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with that myself.
I
Christine,
do.
I would like to hear your
I do.
perspective why you don't have a problem.
My what?
I would like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Why? What's your perspective? Why do you feel that way?
Well, because it just doesn't bother me. I don't mind accommodating people's, what makes them comfortable. I just don't mind that.
I find it obnoxious. I really do.
Well,
I find it so obnoxious.
Well, there's also kind of, limits too. If you're going to be,
yeah, exactly.
If you misgender somebody, hopefully they're not going to go on the attack. Don't do it twice, I guess, right? And just try to be respectful of people. I just don't have a problem with it.
I don't know. It's kind of. Sorry, it's kind of like somebody giving somebody. Somebody's asking for Perrier and they get soda water. It's like, oh well, no. I know it has that feeling of, that kind of obnoxious. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm that's on me. But
Christine,
that's how I feel.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So you have a university class and you've got 200 to 400 people in your class.
Well, yeah, that's. I understand what you're saying about Jordan Peterson. That's his name.
Yes.
Yeah, and I agree with him on the principle, but yes, I would try to accommodate my students, and it's almost impossible in a class that size, right? But I don't know, I do my best. But in my conduct in everyday life, if you meet somebody and they want to be called something, and I have.
Well, sure, one-on-one is fine, but when you start writing a sentence and you start saying, they did this, or
which do you mean?
That's a perfect example. They did this. Well, who is they? Like how that to me that's plural, but in their context, plural is within their own single body. Mm-hmm. How do people read that? Make sense of it.
Best if you can to try to just remember people's names, and you don't have to refer to them in the third person anyway, right? Yeah,
well, if you're talking in front of somebody and you're referring to them in the third person, that's pretty rude already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have tried to respond to some of the comments, or to a person individually, or to make general statements, And when I start writing, I have trouble, and I've resorted to using the person's name. If it's Helen or Shane or Randy or Christine, I will use their name because I don't know, am I saying the right thing? I'm walking on eggshells all the time, and it's not good.
No.
Yeah.
What does it say when the situation makes somebody like Jordan Peterson sound reasonable? Where are we at? He's kind of a loon a bit, but
Yeah.
when he's the reasonable voice, what does that say to us? You just got to throw up your hands and just like, you guys are just stone cold fuck nuts. It's
Now.
Well, and that
but still,
free speech thing was canceled where he and Gad Saad were supposed to be speaking at too, right? Here's another symptom, I suppose, of this.
Oh, but they moved to a new facility which actually houses 4 times the number of the original one.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So thank you for giving Jordan Peterson more press. Good job. Well done.
Again, I think it comes down to this outrage culture that came out of left field all of a sudden, because I've known transgender people for decades, and they just wanted to be called whatever gender they were transitioning into. So that was fine. I had a friend named Nick, and he became Nika. Okay, and now he's she. Fine. And then it seems like in the last year, that's when it's not been good enough anymore.
No, there's how many? There's over 30 different appellations.
Yeah.
I think there's more than that.
It's crazy.
Isn't there?
It's crazy.
and growing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's got to end. I mean, seriously. You need a
Shane, what is your
roadmap.
perspective on that? How would you deal with it?
Well, so far I haven't run into anybody that wants to be referred to outside the he or she. Like I said, I have a couple of friends that have transitioned. I have one that's gone from male to female and one from female to male, and that was totally fine. Was a she, now he. Easy. I haven't not encountered somebody that wants to be called one of these other pronouns yet, and I don't know how I would react to it. I might avoid them just to avoid offending somebody.
That's sad.
I'm going to make a plug for a video that I think every high school student should see. And of course, the religious, and that's another issue I think we need to bring into this conversation. But the religious people would never ever let this movie, the DVD, into their environment. The DVD is called 9 Months That Made You. It's a BBC production, and it is brilliant because it talks about genetic quirks that happen throughout pregnancy. Some of them are albino quirks, some of them are 6-fingered quirks, some of them are those that are born with no genitalia, and whoop, I'm 12 and now I have a boy bits.
Right.
It's absolutely fabulous, and I would like to see all high schools see that so that they have a perspective on how not humanity, how genetics work, how human beings work, how biology and evolution and all of these things work. It would clarify so much in terms of having the conversation. Well, so-and-so is that way. Well, the thing is, gender is not specific. Gender is a spectrum.
Be very careful about what you're talking about. You're talking about biological, or are you talking about identity?
Because gender is
you have to be really careful.
Okay, biological.
Sex is a biological. Yeah.
I'm talking about genetics.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's quirks and anomalies within the.
It's extremely heavily weighted on the binary.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, if it weren't, our species would be in a lot of trouble. But yeah, there are exceptions to it, and that's how we deal with that as a society. I think is still evolving, not biological evolving, but the societal version.
Well, in
of
different
evolution.
societies, have different perspectives on,
And different cultures have it.
exactly. Yeah. Well, we're seeing the two-spirited people. That's indigenous culture, right?
Yes.
So, and they were, I think, fairly revered in that culture, if not.
They were.
Yeah.
And CFI, I'd like to clarify, CFI, Calgary, our group, are not unfamiliar with that whole side of it. And CFI Calgary has been chastised for not knowing enough stuff.
Is that a seg into a certain... Oh, Shane, go ahead. You got
Well, I'm a member of this community, and I've never heard of this stuff. Like, can they even point to a news article that shows the police oppressing an Indigenous gay person or a colored gay person? Or
Well, there's.
I couldn't find anything.
Again, Shane, I think they're pulling on international. We all know that there are gay people that are thrown off balconies in Muslim countries. We all know that.
Yes.
But to make it so specific here in Calgary that unless I am speaking about Two-Spirit and everything all at once, I mean, for me to try and do all the research, I'd love to have enough time to be able to sit down and just do all the research and have all the same knowledge they do. We do our best as Calgarians to understand.
Get a speaker in.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they think that Calgary Pride needs to take a stand for oppressed gay people of color around the world by excluding our local police.
That makes just no
Is that
sense,
the
does it?
argument?
Well, no, I think it is
clear,
more
they're-
pertaining to the local context and our First Nations people and stuff like that, right? And I don't doubt that there's been issues.
To be clear, the police are not excluded. They've just been asked to not
Wear uniform.
wear uniform.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you're proud to have that, wear that uniform.
Yeah, it's still a slight against them.
It's a huge one.
Yes.
Especially the LGBTQ police officers.
Yeah, exactly.
To
There's also, if I may point out, there are some within the CPS that are not yet identified gay
Right.
within their police unit or the police force. They are the ones that, well, not all of them, I guess, but it has been made a comment that if some of them go without their uniform on, they might as well have a target on their back.
Right.
They would like to wear their uniform to say, I'm gay, I am CPS, and I am proud to be in this parade to support you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And they have a float too that they're not.
Right.
Yeah.
No police vehicles, no floats. Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it
I'm
either.
sorry, I just don't understand.
No.
Well, I'm not going this year.
Yeah.
I'm not either.
Yeah, me neither.
And many of my friends that are gay have just said, I'm sorry, this does not represent me. It's become a hotbed of controversy, and it's not what I'm about.
And going back to the celebration, it's supposed to be a celebration of how far we've come.
Agreed.
And what we have, and
Absolutely.
It's not supposed to be an attack on anyone.
Agreed. It's celebrating how far they've come. And I think we need to welcome the CPS because we live in a city where there might be the odd case, but they're taken to task in the police force. If there's something that goes wrong, their chain is yanked immediately.
Right.
This stuff doesn't happen in Canada, or pardon me, in Calgary.
Right.
That
And
I have heard of, that almost anybody in the police force I've spoken to, I haven't heard of it. Everybody's saying, why? What's the big deal? And again, I think they're trying to make it a political statement on an international level that we need to support in Calgary.
Right.
Yeah, the reframing of it as other than celebration, and now it's protest against the cops. That's a new one. Like I said, way back.
And I
in the
don't think
day,
it's fair. I don't think that is a.
I don't
I think it's
either.
totally unfair.
Yeah.
My friends who were volunteers for the Pride organization have quit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
So it's going right into the organization itself.
It's imploding.
Yeah.
That's really too bad. I'm sorry to hear. Well, you got to make it really bad to make it better, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be some changes. I know they're having a meeting. Metro had a news article, might have been yesterday, or Friday, that talks about there's a meeting with Mayor Nenshi and CPS Pride people. So
I was wondering what Nenshi thought of this.
He's disappointed.
He's disappointed, and of course, Pride people, and I think probably in the big scope of things is the Voices movement. They're the ones that are a little bit more in your face with things they're more not in your face. They're demanding more, but I think they are very upset with Nenshi's stance that he is not totally bought into this whole thing.
Right.
So,
And that's exactly what I would have expected of him, to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because
it's
he's always
a step backwards. I mean,
Absolutely.
He was a grand marshal when he first became mayor
Mm-hmm.
of the parade, so he's always participated. And it is a civic pride thing for all of us, not just the LGBTQ2S community. It's
Right.
yeah.
And to have anybody come, regardless of if it's a political statement or anything, to have them join in you on that day, to say, hey, we're with you. You can deal with the politics later if they're just doing it for a political selfie. But I think the more people you have that join you in, and I'm going to call it a celebration, the more people you have that join you in the celebration makes your statement more positive, and that turns it into more people joining you and supporting you down the road. But when you pull these little hot pokers out to make it
Microaggressions.
Yes.
my favorite.
Well, I would argue that the Conservative Party has done more to oppress gay people than the police, and they allow them to be in the parade.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's an extremely good point. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to mention that in the chat we've got somebody who's saying, they're in agreement with what we're saying here.
Nice.
Of course he is. No, just kidding.
Well, I know, I don't want to mention names,
Everybody
but,
should agree with us.
Well, because I put it on Facebook, I wondered if we get some haters like joining on the podcast.
Oh,
But so far, I haven't seen any hate comments posted.
Yeah,
so
I
that's
just
nice.
I don't understand.
Christine, most of the comments that I have had from, of course, this is a biased statement, from people that I respect, those that look at both sides before they jump the gun to say something, those that read the article before instead of just the headline and start slandering, those that will make intelligent comments in a kind, compassionate way. I've had more positive support from them, and I get many just angry, contentious people that I don't know who they are. They're just coming out of the woodwork. And
I see on Facebook.
Because we're a faceless, nameless bunch
mob
on screen. Used to be that my phone would ring off the hook. Phone doesn't ring off the hook. I don't get a lot of messages saying, hey, talk to me. I had one person who messaged me, Facebook messaged me to say, wow, Helen, thank you for your response. And I happen to agree with you. And it was in response to a nasty response from Saskatchewan, Regina.
Mm-hmm.
And I that was not a great situation. I wish that they had phoned me before they started just firing bullets at us.
Yeah, and bullets, which are really just bollocks.
Yeah.
I've seen the arguments, and they're very poor. I mean, they talk about systemic racism, and I'm just like, your evidence is insufficient to show that. For instance, like carding, when they show the racial demographics of carding, it looks bad, but when a certain demographic is committing disproportionately amount of crime, it makes sense. And if they're targeting behavior and not racially profiling, I don't have a problem with it.
I think the purpose of that study was to look at neighborhoods that are more homogenous in terms of cultures that, as opposed to communities where it's more diverse.
Mm-hmm. But they've taken it to be a slam dunk. For
and then
racism,
there was that video.
I don't get no.
There was that video of the two cops
yeah.
that beat the crap out of that guy. Now, I didn't see the guy's face, but that guy looked pretty white to me. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if he was.
Yeah, this was some of the evidence that was sent that was showing racism is systemic, and I'm sorry, I just don't.
Well,
buy
and
it.
it's not about this pride is not is not about
that's
racism.
The other problem. Yeah, it
No.
isn't.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we should be dealing with that, and absolutely, but that's not what pride is about. No,
And
if you want to have a table and hand out your literature and stuff like that, like I would totally invite something like that. But to uninvite other people,
I'd like to give a caveat to what I've said. I'm talking about systemic racism. I do not accept the claim that racism is systemic, that there are laws in place which tell people or tell law enforcement how to differentially treat people. There is no memo from the top brass to the rank and file of the CPS telling them to target any particular demographic. That would be systemic racism. Carding is not. It is not targeting. When it's done on the basis of suspicious behavior, it is not racist. Just because one demographic tends to be carded more than another one does not therefore conclude. You cannot therefore conclude that it's racism, because that would be affirming the consequent. So I just want to say that I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. I'm saying systemic racism. You've got a ways to go before I will accept that claim.
Okay, but I will, like, if you talk about the system of law, but there's other ways to perceive systems, like social systems and that kind of thing. Like, I think, there's still a lot of pervasive racism in our social structures. I can certainly grant that.
But that's larger than the CPS. That's not. That's.
And I want to clarify something I said earlier too, when I said that there's issues. And I guess I'm curious, does the RCMP participate in Pride? Because there's been a lot of issues with the RCMP and the First Nations communities, right?
Not usually.
Okay.
All the Pride parades I've been to, I haven't seen RCMP. I've been to Vancouver, Toronto's, Winnipeg. It's usually just the local.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think RCMP is largely responsible for policing reservations.
Federal.
So it'd be federal.
Rural areas.
Rural areas.
Yeah.
Not so much in Alberta, because Alberta is mostly the counties have their own police forces, etc. But they are around. I mean, of course, there's it depends on the county, I think, here.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
A comment that came in my email was that talking about skin tone reporting. This person says this is a social problem of a much bigger degree than who the police are carding. It doesn't take into account economic prosperity or crime rate in the postal code or neighborhoods these carding issues took place.
Right.
I would venture a guess that a well-dressed Native woman here in Calgary, living in Tuscany, is far less likely to get carded than a white woman in tattered clothes pushing a shopping cart in, and I won't say what area of the city. It is an absolutely unscientific approach to a larger anthropological and socioeconomic issue.
Right.
And not only that, you have no baseline to work from it, because you would like to be able to compare carding statistics to crime statistics based on race, but guess what? Stats Canada does not break down crime statistics on the basis of race, which is appalling.
Yeah, they do on religion.
Yeah, I guess
Which is
religion is a less touchy subject. So
people
have
are often
no baseline. So any claims to racism are completely groundless. It's in the United States. You have the Department of Justice, their Bureau of Justice Statistics. I hate saying that word because even when I'm sober, I can't say it. Statistics. There, and I am totally sober. So they have this information that they can draw from. We don't have that, and how can you base policy in terms of helping racial demographics? I mean, I understand there might be the fear.
We don't have racial demographics here?
On crime, no.
You know why they don't do that? It's because the left-leaning people want to everything to be based on the action, not the race.
And it denies that there can be different actions based on demographics, which is amazing.
Well, and I guess, if it's in a report, it could possibly perpetuate that kind of attitude, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant when I was going to start to say that it could be the fear of using that information to support racist policies.
Yes.
I understand that, but when you get some violent crimes, I think we need to say, okay, wait a minute here. This particular area of the city or this particular religious culture or whatever you want to call it, just say, you guys got to clean up your act. Find a way to do it. Clean up your act.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way,
it's too important not to do it. And I really wish Stats Canada would keep these kinds of stats. I'm going to say stats. I'm not going to say statistics anymore.
They don't have to make it public as long as they just keep it private.
I think they should make it public because could you imagine the optics if they didn't make it public and then found out that they were keeping these stats? It would be absolutely. I think transparency is always the best policy in this kind of
I can certainly see how they could be deployed to ill ends, though. Absolutely. Oh,
sure.
And by the way,
but I don't think that's a reason not to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I agree.
It's too
What
important.
about Paulo Gia?
Paulo Gia has joined us. And
Oh,
he wants
yes.
us to guess where he is on the on this position.
Guess where I am.
I don't know.
Well, you're not in my living room.
I think he's talking about his stance.
I thought he was talking about his actual location.
He's in heaven.
Yeah,
he's in a better place.
He's burning in hell, man. He's burning in hell.
Yeah, for sure. Be joining you shortly there. No, I'm guessing that Paulo Gia is possibly on our side. I don't know. I shouldn't say on our side because it shouldn't be a divisive issue.
It can be anywhere where he thinks he should be.
Shares our opinion.
I feel that everybody should be where they think they should be.
Remember, Randy.
Yeah.
We had talked earlier about you wanted to talk about the general discontent that the gay community already had with the Pride Board, right?
Yeah. We did. Yes.
I was mentioning to Randy earlier that even prior to this CPS issue, you asked 9 out of 10 gay community people in Calgary, if they were happy with the job the Pride Board was doing, they would say no. The community has been unhappy with the Pride Board for a long time, as long as I've been in Calgary, and I've been here since '98, largely because of their lack of organizational skills and the perceived lack of effort. Winnipeg's Pride is better than Calgary's Pride. Saskatoon's Pride is better than Calgary's Pride. The owners of Twisted, Calgary's only gay nightclub, have been refusing to cooperate with Calgary Pride for their entire existence.
Really?
Yeah, it's so.
That, to me, that's a huge statement, Shane.
Yeah.
It kind of clarifies a lot of things that have been bouncing around in my head.
Usually, I don't know if you've been to a Pride parade in another city, but if you go to Vancouver's Pride, their parade is 4.5 hours long.
Wow.
Calgary's at its longest was maybe an hour. And it's mostly because you get an organization like Vancouver Pride, and they just say, all are welcome. You want to participate? Sign up. Let's do it. With Calgary Pride, it's more of a you have to play by our rules kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they, yeah, and the people on the board just don't seem to have that desire to seek out cooperation with people. And the decision to move Pride to September in the first place was, I don't know whose great idea that was, because none of us really wanted that, because it's always colder in September than it is in June.
Well, Ottawa had theirs, I think it was this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and most Pride parades, I got questioned from other people saying, well, what didn't Pride Parade happen a while ago? I said, well, in Calgary, it happens on this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Pride is supposed to be in June because that is the anniversary of the Stonewall riots in New York.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, why
which
did
was
do it in June then?
Well, we used to have it in June, and then just 1 year, the Pride Committee said, guess what? Now it's in September.
That's fascinating. Like, I think it would be kind of cool if everybody had Pride on a different weekend, so that people who'd like to, like follow the parade, and that would be kind of cool. But
Pride tour.
We're out there on. Well, yeah, I mean, people do it, right?
Well, why not August though? I can see not wanting to do it, maybe during July, because you have Stampede here, you have Toronto's Pride in the end of July, Vancouver's is August long weekend, but why not between then and now?
Yeah.
Part of the problem in Calgary is that holiday season, and most Calgarians are in the mountains.
Or in BC.
Or in BC.
Yeah.
Or it's Stampede Week or something like that.
No, it's already too busy with
Yeah.
so I'm not sure that would go
No,
over
that's
well.
what I mean. I mean, it's a Stampede Week is an issue too, right? So.
Yeah. Do it the week before Stampede Week. In June. The end of June, before Stampede Week.
Yeah. Oh, we're barking up the wrong tree here.
That's true. Schedule a tour, I say, sir.
Well, we could send a communique, but I don't think they're going to listen to me. They didn't listen. They didn't. I thought, I mean, the Pride Committee knew that you had pulled CFIs out of or not you personally. I shouldn't say you personally, because it was a decision that was brought about. It was maybe not a consensus, but it was a majority.
We had a whole evening business meeting going through conversations, positions from many different aspects of people and police and information that we'd had, trying to make a decision. And we finally just said, we're not comfortable with this. And we don't have a majority. I could have gone into it, but I would in some ways feel like, well, I'm doing this because I paid my CFI Calgary paid our $75 to be in the parade. But all we're doing is promoting CFI. We are not standing up for the LGBT community that many are involved in our CFI. They have expressed, as you have, Shane, the same sentiments, that they're not really happy. This Pride doesn't represent them. And I'm thinking, well, if it doesn't represent you, why are we doing this?
Yeah. You should talk to the owners of the Twisted Element nightclub, because they went through the same thing when they stopped cooperating with Pride over 10 years ago.
Oh wow!
They got a lot of flack.
I didn't know that.
Well, not a lot of flack. They got some flack from a loud minority of people saying, why are you no longer affiliated with Pride? And they didn't give a lot of reasons, but they basically said that, they were impossible to deal with, and their conditions were unreasonable. And so ever since then, Twisted now does their own event called Pure Pride. And so they hold this separate party and dance independent of the officially sanctioned Pride activities, because it's just better that way.
Wow. Well, Shane, one of the past CFI branch leaders was Mike Gray, and Mike Gray was owner of 10 nightclub. We had a lot of our business meetings there every once a month on a Thursday. We had a lot of speakers come and he volunteered his place, 10 nightclub, for a lot of our CFI events. And we supported him, he supported us. It was a great, and Mike himself has said, I don't understand. I've not come across any of this. And I own a nightclub, and the police service in Calgary have been nothing but respectful.
Right.
And communicative. Oh, that's my word, Randy. Communicate well with Mike. And they are they're ready, available, and partners in this whole scheme of things. So if Mike, who is my friend and we partnered and worked together for so many years, is confused, I'm confused.
Yeah. I think everybody, a lot of people.
We're all confused.
It's. I hope it sorts itself out, because I just cannot deal with the acrimonious language that's happening, and when people start yelling, I just shut down.
Yeah.
Well,
as most people do. Yeah.
I don't have hard numbers on this, but I would almost certainly guarantee you that it's just a very loud minority. All the people in the community that I know are right where we are on this.
Okay.
That's nice to hear.
It's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
All 5 of them. No, just kidding.
I have a friend from Toronto who's flying out to Calgary for Pride. He had already booked everything before this had happened, and so he's still coming. He's going to come hang out with me, but he doesn't know if he's going to go to the parade anymore. He spent all his time and effort in getting out here, but he's on the same mindset. He thinks this is kind of dumb, and he doesn't want to support it if this is what's going to happen.
He's involved with the Pride there. Then that that was basically hijacked by Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Toronto chapter. How does he feel about that? I mean, I can guess, but
yeah, pissed off to say the least.
That was an absolutely abominable thing to do. I was just
Shane, would he be comfortable talking to, or even just making connection with Mayor Nenshi? Because his position, I think, would be of value for him.
Yeah.
He may not be comfortable, but he could do it individually rather than publicly.
Yeah.
Because I think your side of the coin is what we need for a sentient conversation in this.
Mm-hmm.
What did Nate have to say? Did Nate respond in any way?
I talked to him. He asked. Actually, this is how I found out about it. Was from Nate Phelps. And
okay.
I don't know what his opinion is. He just asked for mine, and I told him I'm 100% in agreement that especially I read the whole thing. I read the letter, looked at the reasons that Calgary Pride gave, and just couldn't make heads or tails of it. And to me, is reading those two things, it's a no-brainer for me. I'd say, yeah, I can't agree to this. I'm not going to go. I mean, I'm just one person, but it's an easy decision for me. And Helen, you're dealing with a group, so that's a much different situation. But for me, it was pretty quick.
From Nate either. I was surprised. I've heard from the BC Humanist Organization and from CFI Regina, they were not happy. And I'm sure Nate knows what's going on, but he hasn't contacted me, and I haven't contacted him because I have no reason to.
Yeah,
I know I mentioned him in my letter that I sent to our letter, CFI's letter to the Pride Parade organizers, saying that, I used his name because I thought that it would tweak with the organizers that CFI has been involved. Nate Phelps, who is a huge LGBTQ advocate. The only reason I used his name, because he was a branch leader for a while here as well, was to show that we've been around for a long time. We do support you. But this year, what is different this year than before?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had indications of this because it's happened elsewhere. It was I think it was just a matter of time before it happened here.
Yeah.
So it didn't surprise me. It disappointed me, but it certainly didn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think that's the best word, Christine, is it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding it very, it's imploding, and it just doesn't need to happen.
Yeah. It's sad. We've got the white noise happening again.
Yeah. Well, I think we're coming to a close here.
I
Anyway,
think
but
did Helen, was there a particular posting you wanted to discuss, or did we get through that? I think it's Shane that's got the static happening.
Me?
I think so.
Uh,
Try muting for a
Mute
second.
right.
Before Shane came on, but
okay, I'll mute for a second here.
Well, now it's gone anyway.
all good.
Did we cover everything you wanted to cover?
I think, as far as I know, there's. I will be making a Facebook post tomorrow, but it will be on behalf. It's only my own posting, because at this point I need confirmation from CFI National to say anything on behalf of CFI Calgary.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I will do my best. I've written an apology response for things that I perhaps have misspoken, and I've got it in front of me. I just wanted, I just need to say it personally so that people realize that we're not trying to be the bad guys. We are just needing more information. And secondly, we're confused. And thirdly, it's not because we don't understand what's going on. It's because we don't agree with the vitriol that's happening. And I reluctantly use that word, but when people start yelling, I think there's something else going on that I need to know more about before I get involved and say, yes, I'm right into this.
yeah.
Well, this accusation that you need to be educated is, you
Yeah.
know, and like the reality
Funny.
is that some of us are educated about specific topics, right? And
Yes.
we just simply disagree with particular theories and that kind of thing. And there's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that. That's the whole gist of, what drives academia is the arguments.
I agree.
So, yeah, respectful civil arguments is what I'm talking about here.
And respectful, civil, public celebrations.
Yes. Yeah.
I
And
think-
no diminishing of the word celebration there either. It's important. It's it's a
Did
word
I
to be
men-
taken seriously.
Did I
Well, no,
mention
but
the
the-
word inclusiveness?
Yeah.
The
Yeah, you
word
did.
inclusive.
Yeah.
It might have been before we got on, but the word inclusive is actually a bad word. We're not supposed to
Yeah.
use inclusive.
Assimilate.
Yeah.
You can't say assimilate, at least
Well,
on the
it-
license plate.
In terms of if you're having a parade that doesn't involve the people that are protecting your
That's
freedom of speech and
that's
your
the bizarre
safety,
aspect of it. isn't it?
then I would consider that to be not inclusive.
Yeah, well, that's a slap in the face to those people.
I dare say it's bigotry.
Absolute. Yeah, well, that too. It's certainly prejudice.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe that I was not allowed to use, or whoever mentioned that, I was not allowed to use the word inclusive. And
I think you can safely ignore such a person. I really think you can safely ignore such a person. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't say inclusive? That's nonsense. I mean,
well, they're saying that you cannot use the word inclusive. That we're not participating. We're not boycotting the parade. We are just withdrawing our participation for this year until we sort things out.
Oh, that's nuanced, though. Well,
the thing is, they are taking. They are assuming so many things. These
nuance
people that
is
are
dead.
Speaking up, they assume too many things. They're not asking information. They're merely
interpreting,
running with what they feel, and it's not true.
They're mapping their own what they think you're saying onto what you're saying, and not trying to get any clarification or anything. I mean, I keep saying nuance is dead, and it is, because people are into this binary thinking. Oh, you're not going to be in Pride. You hate gay people. Well, it doesn't follow.
No.
Right? And
we support
I've
human
talked
rights.
about that enough.
And they say, well, if you support human rights, you would understand and you would know all about, and maybe we could give you a 3-hour, they haven't said this, but I'm thinking in terms of UPC.
An information session.
And then you'll know all about us.
I've got this vision of what A Clockwork Orange with you in the straitjacket with the eyes held open and people with the eye drops to keep your eyes moist while you're watching an informational film. Sorry.
Shane, are you still there?
Oh, his mic's muted.
Yeah.
He might have forgotten.
Oh, sorry.
You forgot, didn't you?
I've been here. Hold on.
I've done that. He's been talking. He's probably
I really appreciate your insight, Shane, because the world makes sense again.
Yeah.
I think you're hearing a side that is just very vocal, and the more reasoned side is just not talking for some reason. I mean, I put my 2 cents worth on the CFI website because, well, I saw stuff on there that was just silly. Like amazing false equivalences and that kind of thing. It was just.
Another thing I will add is that the Calgary gay community does seem to be a lot more apathetic than other large centers in Canada as far as organizing together. People just don't seem to, I don't know, bind together as a group as much for whatever.
Why do you think that's so?
That might be history.
I don't know. Calgary's is a lot more conservative community in more ways than one. In Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, like I said, even Winnipeg, Saskatoon, the community seems to be a lot more energized to get together and do things. And whereas in Calgary, like I said, I've been here since '98, and every year I'll ask my gay friends, "Oh, are you going to Pride?" I don't know, maybe. And I think, if maybe we were more all organized together, we would have all, voiced our opposition to this
organization.
Together.
Yeah, fair
But
enough,
yeah.
Shane, would that be because it's not a big issue? Everybody's just cool?
No,
No.
it's some sort of, like I said, level of apathy that I just can't quite put my finger on, but it's always seemed to exist here. Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver all have a gay village, right? They have a specific section of a street somewhere in the inner city that's designated as like the gay area, right? And Calgary just doesn't have that. We have the population for it. It's just never happened. And it's lack of interest is the best way I can put it.
We're getting a Rainbow Road this year. I don't know which intersection it's happening at.
I thought we already had that.
Last year it was in front of City Hall.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So it's a yearly thing. I get it. Okay.
But it's not permanent? I thought it was this
No,
year's permanent.
last year it was just for Pride. Because remember, it happened the same time that guy refused to drive the Pride bus.
Oh yeah, the guy who wanted to arm bears.
I remember that.
Yeah. So they put that intersection. It was between like Olympic Plaza and City Hall, and then they said it was going to be up until the paint wore off.
Okay.
Vancouver has a permanent one. It's like Davie and Thurlow Street or something in the West End. It's constantly maintained, but yeah, Calgary's has always been temporary.
Well, that's probably because they don't have the same weather we do.
Yeah, that too.
No kidding.
I just want to share a bit of insight with my daughter, because when she was in high school, and they were starting up these gay straight alliance things, I thought that maybe she'd be interested in participating in something like that, right? And she said, "No, Mom, if you start up a group like that, everybody's already okay with, people being gay and bi and blah, blah, blah. And it would just make you kind of the target of, right? Like, it's just like, no, we don't need that here, because
That's right.
everybody's comfortable with, yeah. So
That's what I was intimating, that exactly. It's not a big deal here. Everybody's okay with this. Let's move on. Let's have the party. Let's celebrate.
Yeah. And like, I often think too, like growing up with, it's as though being gay is something new almost, right? Where I grew up with, influences like Rough Trade and Katie Lang, and I mean, this has always been a part of what I grew up around with. It's been accepted and not a problem in my realm anyway.
I used to sing in the Central United Church Choir, and half the choir were, well, I shouldn't say half, but many of many of the male singers in there were gay, and we'd go out to the bar. Classy lounges, pardon me, and drink, and we'd sometimes go to a friend's house and play and sing, play the piano and sing till 3 or 4 in the morning.
You went to the United Church too?
No.
What's that? What was that, Shane?
You went to the United Church as well?
I sure did.
Yes, me too. I was baptized there, United Church in Thompson, Manitoba.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But it was just fun.
Yeah. Even then though United Church is pretty, mild as far as a church, even then I hated church. I just hated the smell of the place. I hated the
Was it incense? Because I know a couple of Catholics that just cannot stand the smell of incense, right?
No, that's Catholic.
I know, and I love to burn incense because it has no affiliation for me. But my two Catholics I know just cannot stand the smell of incense, right? Because it reminds them of church, obviously. Yeah.
I think for Shane and I, it's the sense of community. You go there, and the people you like to sing music with are just fun people.
Yeah, everybody I've known who's been, part of the United Church has pretty much been atheist. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like God is kind of a metaphor in that church.
Yes.
It's not to be taken literally and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so my friend that we were going to have on, that he was a minister at the United Church in Red Deer. He is from the world. He is now the senior pastor at the Metropolitan Community Church in Toronto.
Oh, well, cool.
He's also gay. We were going to have him, or Randy wanted to have him on the show to discuss.
Yeah. That'd be great.
A minister and being gay.
Yeah, he might not be Christian enough. If you know what I mean.
Well, you could get him and Greta Vosper together.
That's true. That'd be cool. Yeah.
That might turn me religious or something. Okay.
He is the atheist United Church minister, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Does she still have her position? I know they were trying to get rid of her because of that.
As far as I know, she does, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of that either. Yeah. And some atheists were critical of her too I can't remember what the exact issue was, but yeah. I remember Scott posting stuff about it. There was some kind of hypocrisy, but I can't remember exactly what the issue was. And Sam is still in the chat window. Can I relay
go ahead.
our guest's opinion? Okay. In a celebration of inclusive inclusivity can't find a place for exclusiveness. You exclude and limit the ability of CPS to show their support. I think the inclusiveness of Pride is the essence of its existence. And part of our duty as an ally is to point out to whom we support when they are making a mistake. We would be remiss if we didn't do that. And then he says, wonder if we get some bus driver refusing to drive over the gay highway.
Over the gate, or the rainbow, yeah.
Thanks for the comments. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Should we wind this up?
Sure.
I mean, we're kind of, I don't have that much for topics either. I mean, there was some Catholic stuff that I should have wish I'd gotten to, but that's okay.
Well, I segued into it.
Did you?
You got a moment?
I suppose you did. Yeah, kind of did. Yeah.
I didn't know we were planning on
well,
that.
Well, there was that archbishop who said...
Oh my God.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on that because, the archbishop said he wouldn't report any child abuse.
I swear I got nauseous when I read that thing. And you couldn't bear to post it, so I did. It was, oh my...
Yeah, but I'm going to play devil's advocate on that because it's kind of appropriate.
That's
I'm going to take the Catholic position. Well, freedom of religion, that's the thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think he's talking about past crimes. If he's talking about past crimes, the law protects the confessional. Okay, it's basically like doctor patient privilege or lawyer client privilege. But if he's referring to future crimes, he must report them. He's not protected by the confessional. So if somebody comes in and said, I can't stop these urges and I'm going to go and molest a child, especially if it's a priest, he must report it. Okay.
Yeah, just like a doctor must as well.
Yes, doctors must report. I was like a psychiatrist talking to their patient and they say they're going to commit a crime. Mm-hmm. A psychiatrist must inform police. They're liable as accessory if they don't. So I'm not sure where he was going with that. But if they don't cooperate with police, this is the thing that really bothers me about the Catholic Church and the whole fiasco with the predatory priest cover-ups, is the lack of transparency with the police, and it made it very difficult for them to investigate crimes. And in some places, like have you ever watched Spotlight?
Yeah.
Awesome movie. It won the Best Picture award a couple of years ago, and it's about
awesome movie.
The uncovering of the child molestation problem in Boston, and it's an absolutely awesome film. I highly recommend it. And this is the thing that police were also complicit. They would, because there was definite privilege. The church was privileged. They were very highly privileged. I mean, there were a lot of Catholics in the police. I mean, it's in Boston. My goodness, it's a cliche to be an Irish Catholic cop, right? I don't know if it's so much anymore, but it certainly was back then. And it was very tough to break these stories, and this doesn't help. If they have but from his position, what does he do? He's bound by the confessional, and in fact, he goes. I'm a priest, right? I take confession. I must keep that secret, otherwise I go to hell. That's
a lawyer.
Yeah. And it's even worse because the outcome is I go to hell. I have broken the confessional list. I could be excommunicated. So he's in a tough spot. But if he's talking about, there's ways of doing things that don't involve direct, involvement of the police. You can do things like urge the person to go to the police. You must go to the police to confess to them, right? You'll feel better, right? Lots of things, and that don't directly involve the priest receiving the confession, having to directly get involved in the police. But the thing is, they had records of these incidents, and Pell has been charged. Cardinal Pell in Australia has been charged, I believe.
Did you see Tim Minchin's song "Come Home,
yeah.
Cardinal Pell"?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think he was charged. So we'll see how that goes. Because he made an admission in his deposition over the internet that was just jaw-dropping, and yeah, that was pretty. It seems he was complicit in some of that. So we'll see how far that goes.
Complicit.
Are you still allowed to use that word?
Complicit. I didn't say inclusive. I just said complicit.
That's true. Any word is subject to
Yeah,
attack.
no kidding. You can't say a
And
word anymore.
redefinition.
You can't say words anymore. You can't use your words, otherwise people get offended.
You saw the SNL sketch where they had Scarlett Johansson playing Ivanka Trump, and it was her new cologne called Complicit.
I didn't see that.
No. You gotta look that one up.
There's a guy called JP Sears on YouTube, and he does I think he in real life he's a life coach, but he's funny as hell, and he does
Yes.
he does how to get offended, the virtuality thing or whatever. Yeah, it's funny as hell.
Yeah, but that's about the only thing I had to really. So let's wrap this up. I'm turning into a pumpkin. It's early, but I'm turning into a pumpkin.
It's a busy week for me. I'm happy to be done too.
Yeah. So
Thanks so much for joining
thank you,
us.
Helen, for being on. Is there anything you wanted to say, Helen?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything you wanted to say before you left?
I think the less I say is probably better.
I was going to ask what do you want to promote, but
You're just going to be a church mouse and
I'm going to lay low for a little while and just
sit
try
back.
to be.
Have
Well, as
yourself a glass
a
of
card-carrying
wine.
member of the gay community, I appreciate CFI's stand.
Thank you,
Yay.
Shane. I appreciate your comments. It really, like I said earlier, my world makes sense now.
And Shane, thank you also for being with us again and sharing your views on the subject, and maybe
Anytime.
I'd love to know how big a hit Calgary Pride has suffered from this.
I'd like to know that too.
I'd really like to know.
Shane, is there anything you want to promote or discuss or anything? Are you working on any projects that you want to share with us?
No personal ads.
Nope.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think so.
That was a good opportunity to, give our guests
Yes.
if they want to, say something
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
what they're doing or whatever. Yeah.
Well, thank you for both for being with us this week. And it's been 3 weeks since our last confession, since we've last sinned. And I hope people appreciate the talk. I think we had a really good discussion here, even though we didn't have anybody from the other side. I did ask.
Unfortunately.
I did ask. So, anyway, well, thank you both for being on. It's been fun.
You're welcome. It's been fun. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Brandy, and both of you. And it's always nice to vent on a Sunday evening and be among, like-minded people.